calling 17 straight 30-point games a record when, hello, another dude has 65 straight. We'll break it down with this panel. Let's go. That's one of his records.
We'll test every offensive record.
I mean, 65 straight. Don't tell me it was pre-merger. You're not in the merger. You get in the merger. Syracuse 95, Duke 91. It was 12-0 Duke 3 minutes in. A few minutes later, Tre Jones went out for Duke with his shoulder injury, and they were lost without their point guard. They were already without Cam Reddish. They got the home L, and now we're hearing AC separation, AC joint for Tre Jones. Could be weeks, could be more. Frank Isola, what does this do to the college basketball landscape? What type of concern do you have for Duke?
Well, they still have Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish, R.J. Barrett, so I don't know if we should set up a GoFundMe page for the Duke Blue Devils. But Tre Jones is a very good player, second in the country, assist turnover. He is their most important player. Maybe not their biggest NBA prospect, or I should say, he isn't their biggest NBA prospect. Go back to the last time Duke won in 2015. When Tyus Jones, his older brother, led them to the national championship. Also wasn't their best player. That team had Justice Winslow, Jahlil Okafor. He was their most important.
So what are we reasonably talking about here? A difficult month for this team? A worse seed going into the tournament? What's your concern here, Frank? I really want to know specifically.
I think it's going to be much harder for them to win a national championship if he does not play again. They'll be fine. They could even get to a Final Four. Can they win those 2 games, late March? I'm not so sure.
Glenn Yates, join us.
I don't think there's any way to say that he is going to be the difference between them being a Final Four team and a national championship team. As you just said, they've got Zion and they've got Barrett. I mean, these are the most talented team in the country. They're top 3 100 recruits. My concern was how they lost this game. They shot more threes than they've ever shot. Jack White went over 10 from 3. How they went about trying to beat that Syracuse zone was, in fact, very problematic. Look, it got to overtime, but I don't think it was that big of a deal overall. They've lost one of their most important players. They haven't lost their best player.
So you would say losing Tre Jones hurts more in the immediate, that game last night, than it would maybe for the next month. Kalisha, how about you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a short-term issue. I think by March, Duke will know who they are, and they'll be fine or close to it. Last night, as Clinton said, they struggled with Syracuse's zone, but really a game that's 85-85 going to overtime, it's not about your offense. It's, in fact, you're not guarding anybody. Without the point guard there, and even into overtime, Syracuse broke them down all night. They just got it easy to the basket.
And Woody Page.
Tony, I can't believe these guys. People of their ilk were saying on this show about 6 weeks ago that they wouldn't lose a game all year. And they're now talking about, oh, maybe it's just one game, maybe it's just weak. AC injury, that's a quarterback kind of separation. That's going to keep him out 6 weeks. What does that put you into? March Madness. I think it's going to be a struggle for them. They're playing in a good conference. The next game against Virginia will be a big indicator where they're going. Tre Jones was sort of dismissed as the 4th guy there, but they moved Barrett outside last night afterward, and he couldn't get the ball down the court. They don't have a true backup point guard. They don't have a defensive presence outside. He is going to be a big loss, and it's going to last into the tournament.
Glenn Yates back in.
Yeah, well, I mean, they might have a sort of a depth issue in terms of what they had to deal with in that game. But if I'm going to believe that Coach K is all of
I'm with you. I mean,
this out. What are we talking about?
Game planning to get through a game when you lose your point guard is a little bit difficult than game planning when you have a weak build-up to figure it out. I saw the last word after the horn.
Well, and also remember, Kyrie Irving, his freshman year at Duke, he got hurt, didn't return until the NCAA tournament. They ended up getting knocked out in the Sweet 16. Now, he was their best player, but to just say, no, they'll be fine until he gets back. And, Tim and Clinton both talking about that game last night. That is an unranked team in Cameron Indoor Stadium.
No, that was a home loss to a team with 5 losses. Yeah,
huge.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. But it's a different type of team. It's Syracuse with that matchup zone. You don't know what you're going to get,
zone.
even though they scored 85. I like that point, Kalisha. It really wasn't a problem scoring the ball. It was defense. We'll move on. Let's get into the NBA. Nets 109, Celtics 102. Last week, we did a show where everything was seemingly fine for the Celtics. We talked about a team meeting, solving their problems. Since we talked about it last week, 3 straight losses, shoving in the huddle. Kyrie's frustrated this weekend. Brad Stevens called a timeout 29 seconds into the game last night. Look at how Horford's face here. And Nets fans telling Kyrie he's leaving. This all happened in the last week. Woody, what's the Celtics' major malfunction right now?
I think it's the guy that you're showing right there. He's the guy that wanted to be traded. He wanted to be the leader of the team. what we've heard from him is whimpering, moaning, frustration, calling out his teammates. Didn't even play last night. You're right. Since they had that famous team meeting, it was supposed to solve all their problems and bring them all together, sitting around the campfire. They're 7-5. They're a team that's in 5th place in the Eastern Conference, and I put it on him. You're the guy that wanted this. You wanted your own team. You know, he talks about, well, they don't have enough experience. Holford, Hayward, their experience in the playoffs in the past, Smart, his experience of winning a championship, there's plenty of experience.
What they don't have, Woody, is experience playing together. I mean, we see the team make a run last year in the playoffs. Well, this is a different team, Hayward, Kyrie, than last year's playoff run team. So, Tim, how do they get that back, and where's it gone, really?
Where it's gone, well, we did talk about all this, how they'd fixed everything last week. I would just say last week we were lying. Today we're telling the truth. It's still a mess. Kyrie Irving is a big part of the problem. He didn't like being the second fiddle to LeBron. Now he's the first fiddle, if that's a thing. Okay. And he's calling his team out even when he's not going to play in the next game. That's the thing I have trouble with, him speaking out and then, oh, I'm going to sit with this quad injury. That's not showing a lot of leadership. But you're right. They won without him and without Hayward, or they went as far as they did, and now they're trying to figure out everybody's roles. They haven't figured them out.
Yates, can you dip in here?
Well, yeah, it's first chair, by the way, Tim. But look, my point is here is that if you're going to bring Kyrie as a guy with a ring, what is he doing other than being a leader by calling out his teammates and telling them that what they're doing is not going to be good enough? I'm not sure how you can consider him the problem when in reality that's what he's there for to begin with. They've got a rotation problem in terms of being a little almost too deep in terms of all their guys once they get back injury. But my biggest issue with this is, in fact, these crowds yelling out Kyrie's leaving. If you've got seeds of doubt in terms of what he should be and what he should not be among the players on that team, I think that's a bigger issue than just, you know, whether or not he wants to get his players better. Right? Not at all.
Well, Clinton, to Tim's point, you know, when you talk about Kyrie Irving, the timing was not ideal. You call out your teammates, and the very next game you don't play.
Yeah.
For me, this goes back to this goes back to last season when Terry Rozier, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum had much bigger roles, you know, from March on into the playoffs because Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward weren't around. Now that they're back, I think guys are struggling with those roles. And remember another thing too. The Celtics, to Danny Ainge's credit, he's always looking to make that next move to, you know, to become a contending team. They know that Anthony Davis, you know, the rumors about maybe over the summer they'll trade for him, that's going to include some of the guys on this roster. I think that affects chemistry, and that does not help. I think on some level it does. I think it doesn't help the head coach.
Well, I think that his leaving and Davis coming, that just contributes to it. Those young players who were contributing throughout last season, Frank, you're right. They've had to adjust their roles. The veteran players are not adjusting to the younger players. They play Toronto tomorrow night. That will be another major test for them at home against the Raptors.
Maybe they'll have a team meeting before they play that game. Maybe they'll win the game, and maybe all the problems will be solved. You ever see a coach call timeout 29 seconds into a game? That's a pretty quick whistle there.
Yeah, it means you're not exactly doing to get your guys together.
All right. Kalisha is fourth fiddle right now. We're going to move on. Harden 57. The run continues. Look at the box score for the Rockets last night. There's a 2 and a 5. Nobody else had more than 15. So, Tim, let me ask you this, all right, because we had after the game, D'Antoni's talking about, you know, he's got to be almost near empty, and he's still putting out these great games. Is it possible Harden is pushing too hard right now? Too far? Too much?
Oh, I definitely think so. You know, they don't have a lot of choice with the injuries they have, and he's all they got. D'Antoni doesn't want to do it. You know, you'd like to have him as fresh as possible when you get to May, but first of all, you got to get there, and they've gone through a tough part of their schedule. He's carried them. He does manage to rest at the other end of the floor. So when he plays 34 minutes, it might be like some other guys playing 20.
All right, interesting view of that,
you know, they do have to watch it at some point.
Yates?
Yeah, with the loss of Clint Capella out for a month, he's obviously going to have to do something. But I'm very concerned about this if I'm a Rockets fan. I mean, look, we've looked at his career in the postseason. What has happened? He's run out of gas. If he's already doing it at this stage of the season and we're not yet to March, I'm very much concerned about what he's going to be able to have in the tank once you get to the actual playoffs. This is a huge
All right, so you see 17-game consecutive 30-point efforts, and you're like, I'm concerned. This is not a good thing. That's what I'm hearing from you.
No, it's a good thing if you're a fan of Harden or of records, but if you're a fan of the Houston Rockets, the Arugula's got issues.
Right, we'll talk about records and whether that's a record in a second. How about you, Frank Isola?
He was an MVP last year, playing a ton of minutes. They were up 3-2 on Golden State. Chris Paul got injured. We talked so much last year about LeBron carrying the Cleveland Cavaliers. Think about what James Harden is doing. I mean, this is an incredible run. And he talked a few weeks ago how he said, listen, I want to be MVP again. Everyone said, oh, look at this individual award he wants to win. He is carrying this team. And last night during the telecast, Matt Bullard brought up a great point. When you think about the Michael Jordan, the logo, and you have Kareem with the hook shot, Dirk with the one-step fadeaway jumper, that shot by Harden is becoming an iconic move in the NBA, where he steps to his right, sometimes only taking one step and shooting that three.
Yeah, right. Or you can make a gif of it, and he could be taking 8 steps and not getting called for it.
It happens.
Woody Page, how about you?
You guys are putting no faith in D'Antoni, that he knows how to use Harden and will know how. They played him 34 minutes last night. We're not talking about a guy that went 52 minutes into overtime. Sure, he played 43 minutes the previous night, but you find spots. I go with the philosophy of the Clive Owen movie, I'll sleep when I die. And that's exactly what there'll be opportunities later in the season when they're in a position that he can rest and be ready for the playoffs. But he's got to be there now. He's got 3 of his most valuable surrounding characters not playing. Of course he's got to carry the burden.
All right.
Like me.
Clive Owen watching at home is like, whoa, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Somebody's a fan. It's good to know. You know, on this record, 17 straight. Okay, I get it. The merger was a definitive point in the history of basketball, but Wilt was playing in the NBA. So the 65 straight he had, 61 to 62, you know he took one game where he had under 30, had 26, and then he started another streak of 31. Wilt, every scoring record.
He's got every record.
Both on the court and off.
Got every one.
We'll be back with Buy or Sell next time.
The ABA played better defense.
Yeah.
Scoring the show, and you have no idea how a panelist got to where they got. Let me introduce you to Frank Isola. 20 points.
Good answers.
How did that happen? It's Buy or Sell. We're going to start with Chicago coach Matt Nagy before the Bears' hibernation. He was talking about Cody Parkey on the Today Show. Take a listen.
When did you find out about it, and what do you think of it?
Well, you know, I found out. I don't even know the exact time that it was, but you know, for me, and you understand that we always talk about a we and not a me thing, and we always talk as a team. We win as a team. We lose as a team, and I didn't necessarily think that was too much of a we thing.
All right, Woody Page, you buy or sell Nagy there?
I'm selling the coach, selling the kicker. I think he'd have been more appropriate if he'd been like Peyton Manning once said of his kicker, oh, we had a liquored up kicker who went out and got in trouble. I think that kickers should keep a low profile, stay out of the way. You got a $4 million guaranteed contract for next year. Just
Why are you
calm it down.
You're saying kicker like it's a 4-letter word. Why are you doing that, Woody? Kalishaw, how about you?
I'm buying the coach in this case. I think there's a question. Is Cody Parkey going on the Today Show because it's therapeutic, or is he trying to kind of capitalize on being that guy who hits all the uprights and all the crossbars? I think it's a bad look for him. He should keep a low profile and just move on.
Yates, how about you?
Either way, the season is over, so it shouldn't matter. He faced the media after he missed the kick. He did the exit interview. Now he wants to have a me moment on television when they're not even football-related activities. That's fine. Nagy, you're a rookie coach. Chill out.
Right, guy, Sola.
Kickers are viewed differently. That's why Cody Parkey should not have done it. If Khalil Mack goes on there and says, you know what, that's on me for Nick Foles marching down the field for the winning score, nobody says anything. If Alshon Jeffrey says, you know what, I should have caught that ball, he's on the Today Show, nobody blinks an eye. It's all because it's the kicker, and in that sport, he's viewed as the outside.
Well, that's wrong. I mean, that's the point. He's not the first kicker to miss a kick as well. By the way, Tim Kalishaw, next time you get eliminated on this show, don't go to Dan Patrick and start talking about it, all right? That's what I want to hear from you. Actually, go to Dan Patrick, go on Dan Patrick, and admit that I didn't have it today. Reality scored the show perfectly. That's what I want to hear. We'll move on. Buy or sell too. Here's the headline. Is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Famer? This was in the Bleacher Report. This is the week that he set the record for most playoff starts without a Super Bowl appearance, and he will not be making the Super Bowl this year. Tim Kalishaw, to buy or sell, Rivers is the Hall of Famer.
If it's today, I'm selling him as a Hall of Famer. He's a very good quarterback who's piled up a lot of yards. He's only made one AFC Championship game appearance. You know his record against Tom Brady. There's some good quarterbacks who've won Super Bowls who haven't made the list. I think he, unfortunately, needs to do more.
Calling him a compiler? Can I put the word compiler? That sounds like what you're calling him.
He is a compiler. He's a compiler.
Clinton Yates, how about you?
Yeah, but, I mean, to me, that indicates longevity, and in a league like the NFL, that's something that matters to me. Only five guys have thrown more touchdown passes than he has. This looks like a reason to keep him out rather than keep him in. In that case, I say, heck yeah.
You have him as a Hall of Famer. Frank Isola, how about you?
Yes.
As a famous radio guy in this town always says, I'm a hard marker. And that's why I think too many guys get in all these Hall of Fames. It should be the best of the best. But, he was traded for Eli Manning, and Eli's getting in because of the 2 Super Bowls. Phillip Rivers has better stats. Phillip Rivers is going to
you had all worried that your zip-up's a little too high, Frank, and you might want to take it down a little.
I don't care. Why do you care?
Who cares? Paige, how about you? Phillip Rivers, Hall of Famer? Yes or no?
From a historical standpoint, being on the committee when Dan Fouts came up, you compare their 2 careers, Rivers and Fouts, same team. Dan Fouts got in without winning a Super Bowl. I think it's possible over the years if you're an Ernie Banks type and you run up the numbers and have success and longevity that you can get in.
Who are
I
the
would
best
put him in the Hall of
quarterbacks
Fame.
who aren't in the Hall of Fame right now, Woody Page? Who's on that list? Randall Cunningham for you? Ken Anderson for you? Jim Plunkett's got 2 Super Bowls. All right, that's 2 Super Bowls, but he doesn't have the stats Phillip Rivers does. Not even close. Statistically, though, every quarterback from this generation is going to be viewed differently. We'll move on. Let's dig into this White House spread for Clemson. You've seen it all, the photos of the cans of this government shutdown. Now, according to the press pool, players whooped when they saw what they were eating. According to a video, audio picked up another saying, I thought it was a joke. Clinton, you buying or selling a spread like that?
I'm selling it based on the presentation. Everybody knows fast food is best served hot. You've got those fries out under those cheap little heat lamps in the candelabras. You've got bags of croutons lying on, the Lincoln gravy boat. This didn't look right. You got to go into the movie theater and go full divorced dad with the kids over. They didn't go far enough.
Isola?
Does the White House have a rating on Yelp? I say this all the time about people that complain about food on airlines. It's not a flying restaurant. It's a plane. You're going to the White House for a visit, not necessarily to eat. I mean, give me a break. If they had served steak and lobster, can you imagine the screaming?
2 years ago, when Clemson had won, Hunter Renfrow called it the greatest meal he's ever had. It was barbecue at the White House. That was I think it was the Trump administration at that moment. Paige, how about you?
Yeah.
I'm buying it. I think not only was it good, the players wanted that. If I were there, I wouldn't want to eat the steak and lobster and sit down at a table. You can wander around and get as many burgers as you want, and I bet you that Lincoln would have done it today. He would have had White Castles, and I bet you some of those escaped to upstairs. The president did the right thing in this case.
Tim Kalishaw.
Tony, I'm buying it. Not everybody wants to sit down to a nice place of quinoa and kale. When you're a college kid, seeing all that food there, grabbing what you want. Yes, the cups of fries could have been a little bigger. I'm with Clinton there, but this.
You can't serve cold fries.
That's what college kids eat.
Those fries have to be hot. I mean, that's what it comes down to. All right, let's say goodbye to some of our favorite compilers, Woody Page and Tim Kalishaw.
Compiled those today.
Clinton Yates, Frank Isola, showdown in 2 minutes. Stick around.
Supersize me.
Merrill.
Clinton Yates, Frank Isola, one panelist going one way, one panelist going the other. I'm like, what do you want from me? Of all the plot lines everybody's watching Rams Saints for, you know it's coming. Let's listen.
Tell him keep talking that, and I hope you see me soon. You feel me? And then we're going to have a good little, nice little bowl of gumbo together.
It's the gumbo. Marcus Peters sent out a tweet yesterday calling it Gumbo Week, let's eat. And then that was taken down minutes later. Clinton, is this going to be a thing this week?
No, the only motivation the Saints needed already happened when Sean Payton rolled in there with all those bags of cash. It should be Gumbo Week. Gumbo is good. This is never a problem. Come on, folks.
I'm more of a jambalaya guy. It's harmless. It's not like he sent out a tweet saying, we're going to take Drew Brees' head off. But clearly, Sean McVay went to him and said, take it down. It seems harmless. What's wrong with a little hype before the big game?
Smart move for his mentions, though.
Split the point. We'll move on. Showdown 2, the Nike Back to the Futures. They're the Adapt BB, and it's an app-controlled, self-lacing sneaker. Jason Tatum's going to christen them tomorrow night. They come out next month. They retail $350. This is a shoe that laces itself, Frank. Choice of a new generation?
I'm not good at tying my shoes, so they might be good for me, but I will say this, and they look nice, but $350, Tony? $350 for a pair of sneakers?
The idea here is that they are perfectly available for modern-day pranks because you control them with an app. No longer do you have to tie people's shoes together. You can just hijack their phones and fall over and can't play
I didn't even consider that. They can hack it and tie your shoes together. That's great, Clinton Yates. Take the FaceTime. 30 seconds.
All right, we saw the Clemson Tigers at the White House last night, but I want to give some props to executive performance chef Donna McCain. She was a 3-sport star in high school who ended up getting a nutrition degree, and now she controls what the food is that football team eats. She teaches she does one-on-one workshops with them, teaching them about nutrition and helping them cook better. All this is coming together. Forget about the fast food. They're eating good at Clemson. It's because of her.
They have an executive chef who is in charge of their diet. That is a wonderful, very 2019 thing. But you get a cheat day every now and then, and that's what last night was at the White House. That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for coming around. A 23.5-hour break.
Throw it.
See you tomorrow. Man, this is the